Hello, good morning. It's so delightful to be with you on another beautiful Tuesday morning. It's a Trendy Tuesday edition of the breakfast show, Rapid Done, right here on Rapid Television, one channel 176 on Star Times. I hope your night was a delightful one and you're ready for what the day brings today. It's your daily dose of fantastic vibes and positivity. So everything coming from us to you. Yes, I'm saying us because I'm never alone on the set as usual. They're very amazing, they're very delectable. She's looking quite what's the word today? That's corporate. Yeah, Cynthia Agbo right here with me, my co-host as always. Good morning, Cynthia.
Good morning and welcome to Rapid Dawn. It's a beautiful Tuesday morning and yeah, trendy Tuesday. We'll try as much as possible to keep you entertained and make sure that you have a great time on the show.
Absolutely. And on a list of what's trending today, well, no worry, we'll let the cat out of the bag much later on the show. But how about we start with something regarding to your health? Do you love smoothies? Well, let's tell you more that you may need to know about smoothies this morning. And then when we'll come back, we'll continue. And there you have it, the many benefits and what you stand to gain. Blending, grinding up your smoothies and, just enjoying them every day. Instead of investing in fizzy drinks and a lot of junk, I think it's more healthy. I think it's more nutritious, more refreshing to invest in smoothies. What do you think?
It's good. I think it's good. Are you trying to tell us what you like? It's just a question. Are you trying to tell us what you like?
It's one of the ways to look at it, but then again, the benefits are far too many for you to ignore.
Yeah, I mean, it's nothing wrong with loving smoothies.
Yeah.
I mean, it's very healthy, especially for body weight, the essential ingredients that your body, elements that your body need basically. So yeah, smoothie is good, but always go for the healthy ones. Very important.
So what's your favorite kind of smoothie?
I wouldn't call myself a smoothie person. So before you start asking me what's my favorite kind of smoothie.
Okay.
But hey, I mean, I rather just like to chew my fruits.
I mean, I feel like you get everything that you need to get from the fruit when you blend it all up and all that.
I still get it when I chew it. Yes. So it doesn't mean that you should be like me, basically. Though you could. Some people find it easier to just blend and drink. Some people don't like when something is in its original form and they have to start chewing. It's stressful for them. I mean. So you just find out what really works for you. If you chew it, if you blend it, it's the ingredients, everything is still inside. For fruits where you don't need to use the seed, it's still the same thing. So if I can chew my apple, why should I blend it? So if I can blend my apple, why should I chew it? So it's the same thing. You just do what works for you.
Yeah, different strokes for different folks. That's how they say it, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Well, talking about chewing, our favorite pastor is on the news again, and you want to take that one?
No. Go ahead.
So the lead pastor of Dunamis Gospel International Center, of course, it has to be one of the largest church structures in Africa, if not the world, actually, the dome they call it, during Sunday service. That should be last Sunday. I don't know if that video was from last Sunday or from services before that, but he was of course giving the word of God to people. And yes, this statement, our rise kept increasing after we gave tithes from it. He was narrating how that when him and his wife were still medical students, I believe, they had to give a 10% of whatever they received, no matter how little it was. And so they did that to this portion of rice that they had. And for some, miraculous reason, the rice refused to finish. And trust Nigerians, they did not take that like that testimony very lightly. There was a lot of dragging in the comment section. Pastor has come again. Oh, when did this one happen? Why is he selling us lamba? You know, Nigerians and their mouth on social media. So we decided to bring you this gist, as it were, on the show today. I don't know why Cynthia is smiling. Cynthia probably has one rice in her house, one portion of rice that has refused to finish. I don't know if she paid tithe from that rice. So what's the smile all about?
I mean, you know, things like this, like they always say, touch not my anointed. Abi, and
are you sure Nigerians read that part of the Bible? Because I mean, any slight misstep, as it were, you know, by any clergy, they come for you, no matter who you are.
Well, if Dr. Paul says that he gave tithes from the let me finish now.
Okay.
If Dr. Paul says he gave tithes from the rice and the rice refused to finish, it's his testimony. Okay, it's his experience. Just the way you cannot invalidate a person's statement or experience except you have a contrary proof. You can prove beyond all reasonable doubt that this didn't happen. In as much as you cannot actually prove, if himself and his wife says this is what happened, then you have to either take it or leave it. It's just like when Pastor Adeboye said when he got to which country there was this very terrible weather, and when he got in, he spoke to the weather, and everything, the sun that was not supposed to shine during that period came on, and people were or
when he said that he drank tea with God.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that was, I mean, if you're saying, oh, Pastor, you didn't drink tea with God, are you God? Did God tell you in the night?
I think it
that
comes
he
from
didn't
a
drink
place.
tea with
It
him?
comes from a place of people saying, "Listen, we respect you as a man of God. We honor the gift and the calling, and you know the purpose that you represent, but." It is the opinion of some people that you do not have to go over and beyond in trying to, what's the word now? For want of a better word, sell a message or sell an idea or convey a meaning to a particular scripture. You know how it is that you could explain something without necessarily there's a slang we use for it. You don't necessarily have to add pepper and salt, you know, to the story. You could narrate certain things and narrate it exactly the way that it happened. But what you see is that most times it does appear that some elements are now added to the story to spice it up, to make it more imagine you were in the church that day. I mean, this would sound inspirational, this would sound motivating, again, for want of a better word. You know, you'd feel, wow, you'd feel riled up in a positive way, if I might add, you know, listening to some of these things. But then again, I have the only issue that I have with some of the people who are bashing or dragging men of God when they make statements like this is most of them are Christians, and you've read stories in the Bible about you know, miracles. And the woman of Zarephath, for instance, the prophets gave her an instruction and said, go and get containers from your neighbors, go and get vessels from your neighbors, from that little oil that you have, keep filling and all of that. And then it happened exactly as the man of God said. She kept pouring the oil, but unfortunately for her, because she did not gather enough vessels, the oil stopped flowing. Now, naturally speaking, you cannot exactly explain, the what exactly happened there. You can't explain it. Or is it when multitudes of people were fed with 5 loaves of bread and 2 fish? You can't explain it. So if, as a Christian, I believe that the woman of Zarephath had oil flowing non-stop, that a multitude of people was fed with only 5 loaves of bread and 2 fishes. Why is it hard for me to believe that a portion of rice kept on increasing? Is it because you are not seeing Jesus physically giving the testimony? Is it because he's a Dr. Paul? Why do you have a problem, with that statement?
You didn't let me finish earlier, but it's fine. The only thing I would say is, when messages like this come out, you need to understand that you're not speaking to only Christians. So what do you want other people to think? Other people who are listening to you, those who are non-Christians, what do you want them to think? Does it make sense to them? That's basically it. Anyway, let's move on to fashion this morning.
All right, you're welcome back to the show. Of course, lovely to see those wonderful outfits. It's now time for us to see the big stories that are trending on the national dailies this morning, the stories on the papers this morning. We'll start off with Leadership newspaper, and we have Chief Justice warns over poor salary for judges, says Nigerians will bear the brunt. Federal government will not toy with welfare of judiciary. That's coming from the minister. Abuja light rail ready for commercial activities, coming from Wiki. Oil prices spike expected over Iranian president's death. U.S. government questions ICC arrest warrants for Netanyahu, and beside it, minimum wage, we stand on May 31st ultimatum. That's the statement from Labour. Revenue profile, reps threaten to block MDA's account, and Jonathan calls for ceasefire in Rivers crisis. All of those stories you can find on the Leadership newspaper this morning.
Moving on to the Guardian, federal government in dilemma as inflation spikes meal budget to 540 billion naira. Labour threatens strike, issues May 31 ultimatum for new minimum wage deal. Can we make it bolder, please? Something on electricity workers issued 2 weeks ultimatum on TCN on bundling tariff hike, and Kano government releases 376 million naira to complement pilgrims BTAs as naira weakens. We have something there. Jonathan wades into Wike Fubara feud as Clark knocks Ganduje Damagun for alleged complicity. Moving on.
Okay, we'll have Sporting Sun up next. The Seaman returns from Paris on fit for final Serie A matches. Manchester United rivals Chelsea, PSG for Napoli star. Nwabali transfer to Saudi Arabia collapses. And we have a story on Alexander Isak and how much at the end. Looks like 150 million dollars. Is that 150 million? That's quite a lot in win over Tyson Fury. We'll have Rangers go to Vanambaka's church for Thanksgiving. It's not like they've won the league just yet. What are they doing Thanksgiving for? Well, I'm sure there'll be more details on that particular paper there. Varashkelia demands 5 million salary per season. Shuameni ruled out of Champions League final. These and many other stories on Sporting Sun this morning.
Moving on to Sun, Nigeria embassy owes 8.3 million congestion charges in London, ranked fourth among UK's 48 foreign debtors since 2003. Jonathan wades into Rivers crisis. Labour gives federal government end of May to reverse electricity tariff hike. There's something sad there. Government kill Kija Development Union Secretary. You find out on page 4. And we have something, varsities facing existential threats in Nigeria. ASU cries out. There's something from Imo State as well. Imo women protest over alleged police brutality. You find out on page 5 of the paper this morning. AGF, NJC, okay, 300% wage increase for judges, others. These and many more you will find inside a copy of Daily Sun newspaper this morning.
Continue with Daily Trust. Bandits in military uniform abduct 20 in Abuja. 2 attackers captured. That's coming from the police. Estates by POM. Oh my goodness. Estates by POM action. Other weapons for vigilantes. We've been taxed to fix police vehicle. That's the residents. Federal government reviews 14 trade subject syllabi. Decries teachers shortage. I need 35 different visas to travel within Africa. That's coming from Nigeria's richest man, Aliko Dangote. Youths hit jackpot with not coin and crypto trading. Token gets high profile listing on Binance major exchanges. Well, a lot of talk regarding tap swap. And if we could go above the masthead, yes, Kano government buys 2.7 billion naira vehicles for lawmakers. World leaders react as Iran's president buried today. Minimum wage, no going back. On May 31st, ultimatum, says Labour. And that's all from Daily Trust this morning.
Moving on to the Daily Times, Clark accuses Ganduje Damagun of encouraging Wike to derail democracy in Rivers. Nationwide strike looms as Labour gears up for June 3. Least condition to avert industrial crisis. Nigerians will suffer if judges are not well paid. Operations. ASU wants Tinubu to intervene in its demands, and we have reps warn cement manufacturers against shunning invitation. These and many more you will find in the copy of the Daily Times.
This day newspaper is up next. Onia, federal government raises 4.5 trillion naira from domestic markets to finance 2024 budget deficit. Iran gets new leader. Tinubu mourns Raisi. ICC seeks arrest of Israeli leader Netanyahu. Defense minister for war crimes. Prime minister accusations. A disgrace. Attack on military and all of Israel. Biden is outrageous. U.S. lawmakers kick. Several Hamas leaders also risk arrest. And there's a picture of former President Goodluck Jonathan in a tete-a-tete with Siminalai Fubara. Yeah, that's all from This Day newspaper this morning.
Can we move on to the next spot? think we've taken Daily Trust before. Okay. All right. The last one. 2 years after 100 new air traffic controller redundant. This is Daily Trust. Abbas to Ganduje raises committees to reconcile aggrieved APC members. More pressure on Naira ahead possible interest rate hike. And Kano marks arson vendors 100 orphans, 13 widows. This and many more you will find if you grab a couple of Daily Trust, and make sure you try to keep yourself updated today with some of the big stories on our national dailies this morning. And with that, if you look at your time, it's about 2 minutes past 8, and up next, it's time for sports.
A very good morning. Thank you for joining us again on Rapid Sports this morning, right here on the Breakfast Show on Rapid Television 176 on Star Times. Gochuku Madmer is my name. On the front burner this morning, the Golden Eaglets preparations for Roland Garros, the second Grand Slam of the year. Liverpool have a new manager now. It's been made official by the Reds after the exit of Jurgen Klopp. There's a new man who's going to be in charge, and a couple of countries still bringing out their squad list ahead of summer engagements, talking about the Euros and Copa America as well. We'll talk about that in just a moment. Well, without further getting the Lily and without much ado, let's get on to the main event. Let's kickstart with the Golden Eaglets this morning, shall we? Golden Eaglets head coach Manu Garuba says he's leaving no margin for errors in ensuring the team beats Togo later on tomorrow in their second Group B match of the Waffle Zone B under 17 Cup of Nations in Ghana. Remember, Nigeria drew their first game against Burkina Faso. It was a barren draw at the University of Ghana Stadium, and then later on Sunday it was a 1-0 win over Niger Republic, goal scored by Raphael Adams in the 31st minute. Remember, we also did finish that game with 10 men. Nigeria at the moment are second in that group with 4 points, same as Burkina Faso, who have their nose in front on a superior goal difference. Garba looks to finish at the top of the pile and has declared their last group game against the Young Hawks of Togo another must win. And he says they will not be underrating their opponents, talking about the Togolese national team. We have trained the players on goal scoring drills. Nigeria should have scored 3 goals against Niger, so we hope that the players will convert more of their chances against Togo. Remember, Nigeria second on the log. Niger are third with 3 points from their 3-2 win over Togo, who of course are the whipping boys of the group. They are rock bottom, but of course you can't push them over. They are not pushover simply because they are bottom of the table. Anything can absolutely happen in football. Well, the tournament which has been running from the 15th of May and will be ending on the 29th of May, will see the top 2 teams from the group facing the best teams from Group A, which has the likes of Ghana, Cote d'Ivoire and Benin Republic in the semi-finals. Now, the 2 countries that qualify for the final will represent Nigeria in the region rather at next year's under 17 Africa Cup of Nations. And that's all about it regarding the under 17 national team. Now, moving on to Liverpool, it's now official because Liverpool have confirmed former Feyenoord coach Arne Slot on Monday was confirmed as Jurgen Klopp's successor at Liverpool by the Premier League club. Well, according to their X handle, it says Feyenoord coach, we can announce Arne Slot has agreed a deal to become the club's new head coach, formerly taking up the position, subject to a work permit. He will be taking up the position on the 1st of June officially. Now, the club did not specify the length of the contract in the statement, but it is being reported that it could be a 3-year deal. Slot's arrival has been an open secret, with Liverpool reportedly agreeing a compensation deal worth up to 9.4 million. That's about 12 million US dollars. He confirmed Anfield was his next destination at his final pre-match press conference at the Eredivisie club on Friday, and our club announced his departure in January and took charge of his final game on Sunday, a 2-0 win against Wolves. And in his final speech to Anfield, the German urged fans to throw their weight and their support behind Slot. He welcomed the new manager like you welcome me, and that was the message that he had for Reds fans. Well, taking a look at the portfolio of Arne Slot, he moved to Feyenoord in 2021. After impressing in his first managerial role at AZ Alkmaar, he led the Dutch Giants to the inaugural Europa Conference League final at the end of his first season. They narrowly lost 1-0 to Jose Mourinho's Roma. Slot then delivered just a second league title in 24 years to the Cube last season before penning a new 3-year deal. Feyenoord have enjoyed a strong season, winning the Dutch Cup and coming second to an all-conquering PSV Eindhoven side. Liverpool captain and fellow Dutchman Virgil van Dijk has hailed Slot's attacking mindset, saying it would suit the philosophy at Anfield. Well, of course, initially there was speculations regarding Xabi Alonso coming to Liverpool. Yes, Liverpool was one of the sides that it was being speculated he could be coming to, but of course we understand now that he's going to remain with Bayer Leverkusen, who are still unbeaten in 51 games this season. Xabi Alonso, he's going nowhere. It's not going to Barcelona. It's not going to Liverpool. It's not going to Chelsea. He is staying in Bayer Leverkusen. And remember, Liverpool won the League Cup in club's final season in charge and finished third in the Premier League, qualifying for next season's Champions League. And all of the opportunities that the Premier League presents and the difficulties as well, that's what Arne Slot is going to be contending with. It's usually not easy for most coaches, who come into England, because the pace, the intensity, and the drama that, it's typical of the EPL. It's not everyone who can deal with that kind of pressure, but hopefully the big man Arne Slot can bring it to the big party. Because, of course, Jurgen Klopp has taken them to a certain height, and it would really be disappointing for him to go below the standard that's been set by Jurgen Klopp. Well, a lot of things have been said about Arne Slot. He's a fan of Pep Guardiola. He plays free-flowing attacking football. He has a wonderful philosophy. He had a great time as an attacking player in his playing days. Yes, he was a player once in his career. And in fact, he had a particular playing style or a pass style that was named after him. Has incredible dress sense. And hopefully all of those things come to bear when he eventually starts his job officially on the 1st of June. Now let's talk about what will be happening tomorrow, talking about the Europa League. For me, it's a clash of two coaches who have been absolutely imperious this season. Of course, we'll have on one side Gianpiero Gasperini of Atlanta and Xabi Alonso of Bayer Leverkusen. It's going to be the Europa League final, and it's an opportunity for Xabi Alonso to write his name in gold as one of the greats, even though he's still very young, even though it's only just his second season officially managing a club side like Bayer Leverkusen. Now, of course, he's already rebirthed advances from Liverpool, from Barcelona, and Bayern Munich to remain in charge of Leverkusen after leading the club to their first ever Bundesliga title with an unprecedented unbeaten season. Now, there is the possibility of Bayer Leverkusen winning a treble this season. They've already gotten the Bundesliga title in their kitty. Now they have the Europa League final to play tomorrow, and there's Kaiserslautern to play later on Saturday in the German Cup final, or what you know as the BFB Pokal Cup. Well, it's the most difficult, if you ask me, at least on paper, of the two finals would be the match they have tomorrow against Atlanta. Now, a traditional provincial club from Bergamo, Atlanta, have traditionally lived in the shadow of their nearby giants, AC Milan and, of course, Inter Milan. But I think they've enjoyed some level of consistency this season, some level of good football. Atlanta have not lifted silverware for 61 years, having lost 3 Coppa Italia finals in the last 6 seasons, most recently to Juventus less than a week ago. So this is their last opportunity to actually get their hands on a trophy. Well, remember, they have 2 Nigerians who are plying their trade for both sides, or actually 3, Nathan Taylor and Victor Boniface for Bayer Leverkusen, and of course we have the big man Ademola Lookman for Atlanta. So it's definitely going to be a big match. And Xabi Alonso, I mean, you want to juxtapose his resounding success this season with Gasperini's experience, in managing Atlanta, which of course it plays in the Italian Serie A, hasn't seen as much success as Bayer Leverkusen, hasn't gotten a lot of accolades, as it were. But then again, they know how to get the job done. Remember, they were the ones that knocked out Liverpool to qualify, up until the final, and so it's no mean feat, that they have gotten to this particular point. Now, talking about the Italian Serie A, yesterday in a match that might have been a test of Thiago Motta's credentials to take over Juventus, his Bologna team made a blazing start but collapsed at the very end and drew 3-3 with Turin. It was absolutely dramatic. Former Italy midfielder Motta's contract with Bologna, where the 41-year-old has been since 2022, expires at the end of the season. His team have been a revelation this season and are already qualified for next season's Champions League. Monday's draw preserved 3rd place ahead of Juventus on tie break. Juventus playing their first match since Massimiliano Allegri was fired following a spectacular tantrum as his team won the Italian Cup last week, starred in a daze. Well, after 2 minutes, Riccardo Calafiori side-footed into the roof of the net as the ball dropped to him in a space following a corner. Well, 11th minute, Argentinian Santiago Castro, a 19-year-old making his first Serie A start, headed in at the near post, and of course they also did add 1 later on in the second half. But guess what? In a space of say 15 minutes, Juventus pulled 1 back, put 2 goals back, equalized the game, and got at least a point from it. The likes of Federico Chiesa and of course Akadui's Milik all on the score sheet there for Juventus. And Allegri was sent off in the final minutes of last Wednesday's World Cup final win against Atlanta for ranting at the match official, and also alleged to have threatened the chief editor of newspaper Tutto Sport. The 56-year-old won 12 trophies, including 5 Serie A trophies, and reached 2 Champions League finals with Juventus over 2 spells as a manager, Massimiliano Allegri. Who knows where he's going to be going next? Of course, there are 2 kinds of coaches, those who've been sacked and those who are waiting to be sacked. Now, let's talk about some of the engagement, some of the tournaments that will be happening at the summer. And we'll have one of them is the Copa America, and world champions Argentina yesterday named a 29-man squad, led, of course, by the phenomenal pocket-sized disaster man from Argentina, from Buenos Aires, Lionel Messi, for their final friendlies before Copa America. But there was no place for forward Paulo Dybala, who's, of course, struggling with injuries at the moment. Argentina will face Ecuador on June 9 at the Soldier Field in Chicago, and 5 days later play Guatemala at Commanders Field in Washington. Coach Lionel Scaloni will have to cut 3 players on the list to meet the limit of 26 allowed by CONMEBOL for the Copa America, which starts on the 20th of June. In addition to Messi, Angel Di Maria, Nicolas Otamendi, and other players who won the 2022 World Cup in Qatar are all included. Very quickly, let's run through some of the big names there. Franco Armani, Geronimo Rulli, and of course Emiliano Martinez. Of course, that's the man who's going to be in the goal for Argentina. Gonzalo Montiel of Nottingham Forest, one of the defenders, Naho Molina, Leonardo Bellardi, Christian Romero, Gennard Pezzea, Lucas Martinez, Nicolas Otamendi, Lisandro Martinez, Licha, the Butcher, back for Manchester United and for Argentina. Marcos Acuna and Nicolas Tagliafico, Valentin Barco. And in that midfield, it's quite packed. There's, of course, Enzo Fernandez, Giovanni Lo Celso, Angel Di Maria, Valentin Carboni, Guido Rodriguez, Alexis McAllister of Liverpool, and of course, Rodrigo the Paul, Ezequiel Palacios as well of Bayer Leverkusen, Lionel Messi, Angel Correa, Alejandro Garnacho, and Nicolas Gonzalez, Lautaro Martinez, and Julian Alvarez of Manchester City, all very much involved in that one. Argentina kick off their Copa America campaign against Canada on the 20th of June, and then 5 days later they play Chile and then Peru on the 29th of May. The tournament in the United States runs until the 14th of July. But of course, I just gave you what looks like the timetable for the Argentine national team, the Abe Celeste, if you want. And similarly, coach of Croatia, Zlatko Dalic, announced a preliminary 26-man squad for Euro 2024 to be led by veteran Luka Modric. Remember, Luka Modric is going to be staying at Real Madrid. That is the decision that the big man has made as we wrap up for the season. Yes, he doesn't want to go to Saudi. He doesn't want to go to England or any other place. He wants to remain in Madrid, even if that means taking a pay cut. So, regarding Croatia, well, he's still very much involved in international football. It's like that wine that gets better with time. Croatia plays Spain in their opening Group B match on June 15 before facing Albania and current European champions Italy. Well, the players will start to gather on Sunday to train in the northern port of Rijeka, where they play a friendly against North Macedonia on June 3. 5 days later, they face Portugal in Lisbon. Well, who are some of the usual suspects or some of the major names? So have Josko Vardiol of Manchester City, very much there. Joseph Stanisic of Bayer Leverkusen. We have in the midfield Luka Modric, of course, Matthew Kovacic of Manchester City, Marcelo Brozovic of Al Nassr, and in the attack, well, we have Ivan Perisic. He now plays for Hajduk Split, and well, Marko Jaka of Rijeka, and on standby we have a couple of them still very much available as well.
All right, good morning and welcome back to Rapid Dawn. It is a beautiful Tuesday morning, and although we did tell you yesterday that we're going to talk about something today, but as it is, something else, I mean, took prominence. In a couple of days, it will be May 29th, and you would say exactly 1 year of this administration. And so many things have been said, and so many blames have been passed down. And so this morning on the Trendy conversations we're going to be having is looking at the past administration, looking at this current administration, and we try to evaluate and see how well they fared, and see if the previous administration did something well that was passed down. Because most of the things that we've been seeing happening is the fact that there have been lots of blame game, and we have a person who is definitely in the studio this morning to talk to us about all of these things, from the assessing the Barry administration. I would say that you are definitely going to have a great time in this assessment, and of course you also have a chance to share your thoughts as well on our social media platform, just in case you want to disagree and you want to agree. I mean, the platform is always open for you to say, okay, no, I think that this and this is what this administration have done, this and this is what they haven't done. So to join us in the conversation this morning is Samaila Musa. He is the Director of Strategic Communication Coalition of Northern Groups. He is also National Coordinator, Grassroots Mobilization Initiative. Good to have you on the show this morning.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, I must say that this color looks good on you.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, so let's just, May 29 is coming again, and do you think that this is a time for us to be happy, to say, okay, we have experienced 1 year? Is it a state of achievement for us to say, okay, there were so many things that were promised during the, I mean, campaign. Everybody wants to make big promises. But then there's 1 year, does it look like things are moving well?
Yeah. Okay, so I think a lot of times there's this misconception, and it's not just out of the blues. The misconception emanates from when people's hopes are rising and all that, expectations becomes high. People feel this should be a miracle. I mean, suffering and all that. So when you find yourself in situations like that, whatever you're doing, if it's not immediate, nobody wants to listen to any long-term thing you're doing, because it's actually not making sense to the common man who is suffering, who is not sure where to get the next meal from. So whatever you're doing, he just want to see it right now and here, you know. So you might have your long term in place, which is your own cup of tea, but to the hungry man, he needs food. And you see, we also see this happening during the campaigns, where people collect peanuts from politicians because they need to feed. You might just sit down, or maybe you're in the audience observing, and pass your judgment to say, oh, look at these Nigerians, they do this, they collecting money, blah blah blah. How many of them have you been able to help? You understand? So where people is actually in a situation where a lot of things is actually about bad leadership, because that's what you can hang it on, right? Even though the citizens also got their own roles to play, or they also key players in whatever they find themselves in a lot of times, especially in our own case in Nigeria. So expectations are high. That's the bottom line. And if you're not bringing any change in place immediately, it becomes like you're doing nothing. Now, when this administration came in, we saw the enthusiasm, you know, the drive. You know, you want to say, oh, these are Lagos people, they've got all the swag, you know, they just hit the ground running.
The energy.
The energy and all that. But, you know, just a few months with that momentum, everything just came to a halt. Now, they're hiding quite a lot of things, which is not of our business as citizens of this country. They should be able to come out plain and be like, look, what we thought wasn't what we've seen right now. You understand, we know there's a lot of wrath, we know there's a lot of problems, we know there's a lot of things to fix, which is what we trying to do. But each time we try to move, it comes and there's a hitch, and the hitch is actually due to the people who left. So they downplaying that part. They don't want to mention that. They don't want, oh, what will the Northwest people feel? Is it a witch hunt to Buhari? Or perhaps Buhari wasn't involved in all of this. But the people who, there is no way you can separate Buhari from these people. So an attempt to persecute these people is indirectly trying to persecute Buhari. So each time they try to dig here, we're trying to fix it. Oh, the rot. Oh, see this big hole. How do we fix this without bringing people to book? That becomes a challenge. But the common man doesn't care what you're doing. Bring the people you need to bring to book. Let him know the reason why you can't have 3 square meal for now is because where we think we could make this plan happen or make this arrangement come through, we met something there that will take us another 2 years to fill. And these are the culprits. So you're not doing that. Whatever you're trying to say, people are not listening. And talking about what you're trying to say again is the fact that at a point, nobody was saying nothing to nobody. Do you get? And so a lot of citizens, because they perhaps don't know even what to say with the level of wrath they met on ground. So, and communication is very key. I think if there's an area this government needs to do more is to communicate. Because if I'm hungry, for example, and you're able to tell me, maybe you ask your wife to cook or you just come to the house and there's no food. If your wife is mute, it makes it worse. But if she's explaining to you with some apology the reason why your food is not on the table right now, it goes a long way to actually alleviate the situation. You understand? So really, these are the myriads of problems they got trapped in. And that 1 year, because you say something about we're looking forward to celebrating 1 year in office of this administration, a lot of times, and that's why I start with the misconception, is that 1 year, for example, especially when you've had maybe 8 years or more than of bad leadership, 1 year is actually a very challenging time. It's not a time to spin some miracles in the regard people want it to happen. So you need to come forward with a lot of explanations as to why and why you needed more time. But it's not enough to say we need more time, not saying the reasons why you need more time, you know.
Okay.
So yeah,
I think that the party has just begun because
Yeah.
you mentioned things that you mentioned hiding things that the administration is hiding things, which is not a good way to start. Let's get that right. But then you mentioned the previous administration. So let's now go back. I mean, because I mean, if you're a good student of history, you know that the knowledge of the past is very, very important in leading you to the present and in the future. So let's look at the 8 years of the Buhari administration. There were some things we would not say that they didn't achieve anything, but the achievement of the previous administration, is it in any way we have needs and we have wants? Were these achievement needs of the people, or were they just things to show that we're doing something? And from where you stand, Samaila, do you think that the Buhari administration achieved anything to hold on to?
Okay, so to say that it achieved nothing is actually not being fair to them. But I tell you one thing, the failures, right, outweighs the achievement by 300%.
Oh.
You understand? The president at that time, when you say the right word to use is cluelessness. When someone is aloof, completely aloof, not knowing what's going on around him, he doesn't care. What I saw happen at that time was this man spent the whole of his life trying to become the president of Nigeria. He's got no idea what to do when he gets there. What he was thinking is that as a military president, I had a taste of what it means. I dish out orders and people follow, right? We hold what they call it at the time, provision ruling council or something like that. We decide what we want to do. We tell people how to be forced to take a particular direction. So he doesn't know anything outside that. If that is not the order of the day, then he becomes really very sedated, kind of. The man doesn't know nothing. The only thing he knows is how to jet out of Nigeria per time. We saw how in some, for some years, how he was just running all around with the ill health. He was always out of Nigeria. Outside that, nothing. Wasn't talking to no one at the time. Some people tagged him to be deaf and dumb. You know, a lot of pictures flying on the internet where you see him holding his toothpick in his mouth saying, I don't care. And that is the body language. When a president comes with that kind of body language, it kills everyone's morale. The youth became hopeless under that kind of leadership, because leadership is supposed to provide what it means. About leadership comes with motivation. Oh, things are not working right, but the president is motivating us. We think there's hope at the end of the tunnel. We think we can see light at the end of the tunnel. Everybody, because if you come with no energy at all, it transcends to the citizenry, and that was very bad. So it compounded everything. Oh, this man came on the mantra of anti-corruption. Who was prosecuted during his regime? You wrote on the mantra of anti-corruption so much so that a common northerner believed that you are the only one sent from heaven to come and jail all the corrupt people in Nigeria. But we saw what happened within the cabal. 90% of them his own family members. No one was called out for anything. We saw how they buy properties all around the place. We saw the same insecurity you campaigning against Jonathan for. What we saw during your time was that the figures start multiplying exponentially, because the only thing that changed was the modus operandi of the killing. No more bombing, but the killing increased. You understand? So what exactly did you bring to the table, or what was your intention to become president? Everything went worse than, oh, the clueless Jonathan, you did nothing. Absolutely. I wish he just stick to, oh, the reason why people love him is that he's coming to curb corruption. Perhaps he will have gotten his name written that, yeah, he achieved nothing, but at least corruption became something like almost a forgotten issue in our history. But it became worse. What insecurity you met? Oh, you were saying, oh, killings everywhere. They're killing Northerners. The Northerners got the worst of killing during your regime. Tell me, if you want to be fair to yourself or to the rest of the people, how do you want to start marking the script of this kind of individual? And in your mind, your conscience became dead that you say, oh, he has actually done well. It's absolutely impossible. So really, that was the 8 years of the most backwardness Nigeria ever witnessed in our history.
So, do you think the current administration has been an upgrade? You talked about, or you rather you addressed the past administration as being clueless. In the past 1 year, do you find this administration innovative? You said Nigerians were not inspired, young people were not motivated, just looking at the body language of Mr. President. Do you think Nigerians are inspired now?
So, okay, if we want to be fair to ourselves, you know, the back and forth of the election, you know, I mean, a lot of people feel, oh, it's Mr. B that won the election. A lot of people felt it's Mr. C. If we want to keep aside the sentiment of how the election went, because no matter how much you perform sometimes, to someone who doesn't like you, he's not saying nothing. Do you get what I'm saying? So let me tell you, just a typical example is that, look, the president doesn't have to be everywhere. It's your body language that speaks volume. It's the kind of people you bring on board that speaks volume. When Obasanjo was there, he was saying, he was fond of saying something. Oh, Obasanjo did nothing. Obasanjo brought Okonjo-Iweala. You say Obasanjo did nothing. Obasanjo brought Ribadu. You say Obasanjo did, because these were the guys who were actually moving the administration. This, whether you like them or not, you have to give it to them that, look, thumbs up, you're doing your job. So take Abuja, for example. You might not like Wiki for whatever reason, but you won't take away the fact that he's gone to work. We had some guy here who was sleeping for 8 years as a minister, and nobody was calling me out. Nobody felt this is incompetence. Boot him out. No timeline was given. Abuja went backward by more than 20 years under this man, because you see, where for a developing city, all you need is infrastructure. You need to provide the infrastructure, let the citizenry move to action and develop the city themselves. If the government feel we don't have that, we're not that buoyant, but you provided nothing. At the point for about 6-7 years, no even single one CFO was signed, and you want the city to keep developing. How?
But he prides himself as a less corrupt minister.
What is the meaning of corruption? Because it's all in your head. What do you mean by corruption? Are you not worse by making the whole place go really backward? What is corruption? That's all, because we have this mentality, if I'm working, I must be corrupt. Is that what they mean by corruption? If we go by saying, oh, we want to tag people who are actually all over the place trying to fix things, they must be corrupt, because the reason why they try to fix things is that because they want to steal money. Please, for crying out loud, there's no place in the world where there's no corruption. But what is important, because a lot of times we can't even prove this corruption we talk about. You understand? It's all in our psyche. Oh, see how many roads they have constructed. They have stolen money. What exactly? And that's why it's very difficult for you to prosecute a Nigerian governor on the basis of projects, because he tells you there's the Ministry of Works in the state. I'm not the engineers who prepared the bill of quantity. How do you come to me? EFCC has never succeeded in trying to do that. You understand? The governor tells you, am I the one that went to price nail in the market? It's what they brought to me, and it's a ministry, it's an institution of works that did it. It's not my cousin. So I sign it based on our resolution at the cabinet. You understand? So, but when we keep believing that the corruption is what we term it to be in our psyche, because somebody is working, he must be stealing money, it's not right. We must be able to prove that, look, we're saying these things openly. So, and a lot of times when you even work, people don't even see any corruption going on, because this is what they want. They just want governance.
Okay, let's touch something very dicey here. What on the street has it that Emefiele is paying for the corruption of the previous president? I would ask you in a dicey way, do you share the same opinion? That's the first one. And secondly, it is being said that if Emefiele decides to voice out a couple of things, it might be implicating to the former president. Do you also share the same sentiment?
Okay, so let me address the first one first. I think what happened to Emefiele is that, let's assume the next person who became president is actually his younger brother. He might only escape the 8 years if Nemesis didn't buy, because you see, Nemesis has a way. If you lock yourself in this room, that there's no any bits of air that can come in, Nemesis will find its way around you to catch up with you. We saw how heartless this man became at a point. Have we all forgotten what this changing of money, cashless policy issue that want to be imposed in 1 month on Nigerians?
Did he walk alone?
So this is the point. Look, what do you mean by walk alone? I have the right to resign my appointment at a point if I feel, look, this is inhuman. This is heartlessness. Do you understand? So whether he's walking alone or not, we don't see the rest of them. We only see the CBN governor. We saw how arrogant he became at a point, even throwing jabs at politicians. And we're wondering, are you sure this man is actually the central bank governor? We saw how at a point we saw branded cars stuck somewhere for him to contest for president. Somebody who has not resigned as the central bank. This is where you are the custodian of our naira, and you are contesting for president, still retaining that seat. And we had a clueless president still watch all these things go on under his nose. Do you understand? So whether you like it or not, he should be prosecuted. It's now left for him to say, these are my co-travelers in that crime.
What if he was what if he was in the know? Because certain things that certain allegations meted on Emefiele wouldn't have been possible if the president at the time was not involved.
If the president's who?
If the president was not involved.
You mean the former president?
Yes.
Yeah. So that's why I said the number one thing I said about the former president is he was clueless. We saw how that boy called Tunde, that his nephew, who was a recharge card seller after graduation, who got no job, no experience anywhere, working in anybody's office, became the most powerful individual in Nigeria. As young as he is, or he was at the time, who was the one controlling Emefiele and the likes of them. Who, if Tunde is in America and sent for any of them, they are peeing on their trousers to get the next flight to go meet him. That is how much they reduced the presidency of this country to during that time. So whether who is involved or the presidency is involved is left to it. And I tell you, one of the handicap of this regime is that with all the allegations, quite a number of times when they try to move in this direction to say Emefiele must be prosecuted, they see the hand of the people very close to the former president in that place. And they reverse from there, say, okay, this other place, and do a round cut, and then they still meet some of those individuals there. That is the problem. These people are still there everywhere. I've learned some of them are returning some of the monies, right? Whether that is true or not, I don't know. You understand? But these are the issues. You cannot prosecute Emefiele alone, because a lot of the times he actually was is just an accomplice. You understand? He wasn't alone in that, because there's no way he could have done it alone. But what I'm saying about his own case is that, look, with all your experience in banking and all that, because banking is a very sensitive area, you cannot allow people to put your hand on paper when you know you're going to go down for it in the long run. You have the right to resign and be like, well, I think based on principle, I need to call it quit now. I mean, I've actually done my path. You understand? So if an adult with the number of experiences got from Zenith and all of that coming to CBN, he happens to be the longest serving CBN governor in this country, and still be claiming look, there's no excuse for such things. He needs to be answerable to all the crimes he had committed. So it's left to him to say, no, I didn't do it alone. If he didn't, he doesn't want to mention names, so be it. Let's let the court go ahead with what they're doing. But I found this very challenging in the sense that the federal government should do what is needful. We saw Hadi Sirika is a relative of Buhari.
Yes.
You understand? But because at some point Yeah, Keyamo wasn't letting some things just to fly because so much nonsense had happened in that place. They had to call him to book. He had already returned some monies before even going to court. You understand? So that is the system. But let the right thing be done at the right time, so that it doesn't look like a child's play. The Emefiele's issue has been dragging. If you need to crush some people along the way, so be it.
Crush. Okay, we're going to go on a very short break right now, so that Samaila can take a breather. And when we come back, we'll be assessing some of the ministers under the current administration and see which one has to go. I mean, if necessary. We'll be right back. All right, welcome back. It's still Rapid Dawn. We're still evaluating the previous administration and the present administration ahead of May 29th, which is Democracy Day. Are we really, do we really have it in our spirit to celebrate that day? So my guest is still here, Samaila Musa. He is the Director of Strategic Communications Coalition of Northern Groups and also the National Coordinator Grassroots Mobilization Initiative. In as much as I would want to, ask you about what is the atmosphere in the Northern Group, with the current administration. But let's talk about the selection of Mr. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Do you think that he has made good choices so far in terms of the people that he has put in terms of his ministers, in terms of the directors, in terms of people that are going to be working with him? Do you think that he has made a good selection? And which minister do you think has to go? There have been agitation for the Minister of Power to go because people have saying that he seems not to know what he is doing there, and under him, the power situation has
gotten worse.
Aside from him, which is like a foolish topic, which other do you think that he made a good selection in terms of his ministers?
Yeah, quite a number of them are good guys, but you see, sometimes, like I said earlier, 1 year sometimes, because there are some ministries that you might not be able to see the good works they're doing yet, right? Because it might take time for some of these things to come to fruition. But basically, for people who are actually achievers, 1 year is enough time for you to showcase yourself. Do you get what I'm saying? If it's like in the football, when you go for trials, you don't need to play for 1 year for you to be selected. They just call players from all around the place. Come and show us what you got. You understand? Because they just want to pick the best. I wish this president has set a timeline. I don't know if that was done backdoor, because that will have meant that by now some of them who need to pack their stuff need to start packing their stuff and quit the stage before they boot it out, which I don't think is actually happening. Because somewhere, somehow, probably rumors will have seeped around. This is Nigeria. It goes like wildfire. Now, there are some ministers that I can actually tell you. You understand? Number one is the Minister of Agriculture. I think it's called Abubakar Kyari, and food security. This guy done so much. He's all over the place because he came in at a time where prices, because of the dollar issue, prices are skyrocketing. You know, food shortage and all that. He's been having sleepless night to just make sure that there's some kind of souk around food and all that. You get what I'm saying? So these are some of the key guys who, even though he's a very quiet person, you might not see him all around talking about what the things they're doing, but from afar away observing most of these things. Another guy who is actually doing something is the Minister of Interior. He's done so much. I mean, today we've moved from that era of going to queue, bribe some vendors and all that, getting international passport, and this has transcended beyond just the shores of this country, even overseas. I just came back from the UK like less than a month ago. Do you understand? I spoke with some people, which I know the experience is actually changing. You know, so you can tell when someone is an achiever. Nyesom Wike is also doing marvelously well in Abuja. You get, it doesn't need to. Sometimes you can even have an illiterate there, because this is not about book. It's not about having a PhD. It's not about being a professor. If you are a non-achiever, you just be confined to the classroom walls, because this is all you know. You just want to pass knowledge. But for achievers, you can always tell. They have this Midas touch. Wherever you put them, they can actually, or within a very short time, you can actually see what they're doing, because it's about transforming lives. It's about changing the narratives. It's about going to work and not keep complaining. You understand? So we have a number of them. Maybe if you talk about people like Minister of Finance, you might not be able to really know, because it takes time for you to say, oh, what are they even doing in finance?
But then again, I tell you, these are the areas that, you know, people want to see quick results. You mentioned finance.
Yeah.
Petroleum, again, is also another area that people want to see quick results. Labor, for instance, there's been a lot of clamor. The workers are saying we want increased wages. You know, these are some of the areas that Nigerians are paying attention and hoping that things would really happen faster.
Yeah. So you see, the problem with some of those areas is that the onus sometimes falls on the presidency. Because when you're talking about negotiations or the increase of wages and all that, the minister might just be an intermediary between the government and the people. Do you understand? Because we've seen how this thing has been since I was a child. I know Labour and the government have always been having meetings upon meetings, and usually it's with the presidency. Maybe the presidency will send their own representatives, which will be led by the Minister of Labour, right? So those areas are areas that even the Labour themselves, they know that there's a little, if you're to split the blame, it will be like 70-30, 70 to the presidency, 30 to, because the presidency has the power to decide to say, look, we have resolved, this is what we want to be paying now. The same thing goes to the state governors. We saw how, well, I can't remember, was it 2 years ago or thereabout, where some of them agreed to a particular minimum wage. Some say they can't afford that.
Yes.
You understand?
Yes.
So sometimes some of those issues are neither here or there, right? But you see, what I'm saying in essence is, for the achievers, you can always tell. Like the Minister of Finance, for example, it might not be something that you can tell on the spot. I know he's got a robust CV, right? But the ministry is actually handling, or it's a ministry that needs to work in tandem with the central bank. So the two of them needs to be in agreement with whatever policies they are dishing out. But of course, they also came on board at one of the most difficult times in the life of this country. As an entity. Do you get what I'm saying? So because of what they inherited from the bad policies of Emefiele and the likes, so it will be very difficult for you to exonerate one of them, to say, oh, the blame is on the CBN governor, not the Minister of Finance and all that. But we saw a guy who is not even a minister in what's it called now, FIRS. I think it's called Zacchaeus or something like that. Zacchaeus Adedeji, the chairman of FIRS.
Yes.
I was forced to go check this guy's profile again. I realized, oh, he's a first class student, you know, all his life, and he brought that, because it's a different thing to be a first class in the classroom and able to, because you see, your brain isn't like an app. It's the application that makes all the difference. He's tripling the figures, because it's not a levy on decisionary, but we have a lots of agencies in this country who are operating who are not paying nothing. And they're going scot-free with that. And this guy is actually transforming that sector. So you can actually pick some of them and be like, well, I think the president is getting it right with these guys. And sometimes, because there are a lot of politicking in putting a cabinet together, and that's why sometimes some of them waste time, you know, lobbying here and there, the president might fall into the wrong hands eventually, because sometimes it's about recommendations. I saw where the president was saying, there was a complaint about a minister. I say, I didn't know him from Adams. It was what the state sent over to us that we had to work with. And the committee was saddled with the responsibility of appointing portfolios to some of this. But those key major areas, you cannot afford to leave it to a committee as a president. You have to look into it together and make sure that you're making the right decision, because those are the guys that are going to make you or get you destroyed.
Okay. I am curious though. When he was talking, he mentioned some of the issues, the labor. I mean, people want to see changes in this area, labor and finance and that. I am particularly curious at the issue of labor and the demand for a new minimum wage, which right now is pegged at 615,000 naira. Correct me if I'm wrong. Do we need a new minimum wage, or do we need things to be adjusted in terms of price of goods in the market, in terms of petroleum, in terms of the basic life needs and demands? Is that what we need, or do we really need? Because over the years where we have had increase in the minimum wage before it came to be what it is right now, you discover that as you keep progressing, you realize that the money is not even enough for you. So is it a matter of a new minimum wage, or it's a matter of adjusting and taking care of the issues that we have on ground to be able to allow the money we have with us to be enough?
So I think the labor is actually doing what is called misplacements of priorities, because when you keep fighting for a particular cause over the years without looking inward to review and reassess your goals, what do you want to achieve? I think your goal should be to better the life of workers. So if you just put it, because it's the same mistake ASU or whatever they call keep making all the time. This is an institution where you have all the brains in the country, all the professors are there, the professors, emeritus and all of that, but same approach all the time. Their modus operandi has never changed since I was a child. It's all about, let's go for strike, let's do this, let's do that, and all that. I mean, there come a time in one's life where you just sit down and be like, I think this approach is actually wrong. Because you mentioned labor, is that if you keep saying all you want to do is just to increase worker salary, and the government is saying, okay, no problem, let's increase. But things also, we too know the policy that will make things to get increased in the market. So we come to the same level that we're talking about. So the approach really needs to change. They need to find it, there should be some synergy to say, let's work with government this time around. What exactly can you do? Because all we care about is the welfare of the workers.
Yes,
you understand. They can collect 300,000 and it doesn't buy them what the 115 or one whatever is buying now. You get what I'm saying? So there should be a review and reassessment of your goals to say, let's change the approach and see what we can actually achieve. Now, the one thing I realized, because over the years, Labour keep losing their credibility, because each time the noise making of the leadership is about what they can make for themselves. A lot of the leaders are stinkly rich at the expense of the people they say they represent. The last few months or last few years, you see the Labour declaring strike. It's not been effective. Nobody even want to respect that anymore, because the people don't see them as representing their interest. They're buying hotels all over the place, the leadership of Labour. Do you get what I'm saying? So really, once they keep losing that credibility, they get it eroded to a certain stage where when they cough, when they talk, nobody even thinks they are coughing. Really. So it's really a bad precedence they set it, because there will come a time where the labor union doesn't have a representation anymore. Because the government already knows what's going to happen. Okay, come, let's negotiate. After talking behind cameras and all that, the Ghana must go are waiting for you guys. Do you understand? Because sometimes you're feeling this is a noble cause that should have been fought to the latter. But all of a sudden, they just make noise and it goes away like that. So it doesn't start with this, or it is not something peculiar with this administration, but that has been happening over the years, and that's why they keep enriching themselves. I mean, you can be a labor leader today. Once your tenure is over, be sure that you have the money to contest for governor in your state or something like that. That's how lucrative that business of labor unionism is.
I didn't know. I
Oh,
should.
no, you should have.
I should have.
You're probably in the wrong profession.
I'm telling you.
Now, you reiterated a lot in your responses that 1 year is not enough time to properly assess,
Yeah.
the
But you can
performance.
always get some glimpse of which areas we're making progress.
But then again, when you go out on the streets and you have a lot conversation with a lot of Nigerians, lots of them would tell you that with the use of figures that some in the last year or last 2 years, if I had 10,000, it could afford me this, that, or this was the price of dollar, at the time. And lots of comparisons between then and now.
Yeah.
In fact, some people would tell you that they miss the last administration. I'd like to paint the analogy of, let's say, Nigerians actually married a new wife.
Yeah.
Do you think we miss Buhari?
There's no way you're gonna say that. There's no way.
But I mean,
anybody-
look at the issues
I get
of
the
In
drive.
1 year, things have
and that's
drastically
why I
changed.
said earlier when we started, I said, look, when people are going through some situations, suffering and all that, all they need is a miracle. Whatever you're doing is your own cup of tea. They just want to see it happen right here, right now. Do you get? The only thing the government can do to compound their problem is not to give a proper explanation of what is going on. Oh, do you get what I'm saying? A child was once complaining to me because the parents were planning for him to go study overseas, and he feels he's been neglected. Nobody's talking to him. He feels his father has been silent and all that, because the boy is frustrated because you're not letting him in the know of your plans for him. Do you get? Because even if he goes there and come back with that certificate here, it's going to be above his peers, because that's mentality in terms of working here. Even though, the educational system is better off. And that's why so many companies will want to go for people who study over there. But when you're not letting the child in the know of your plans, he gets frustrated. So it's the same way the government needs to be given an update of the situation on ground and what they met on ground. And that's why some governors today are at loggerheads with their predecessors. When they feel, no. This one, the people will hate me the more if I keep quiet. So they just want to shout and be like, what we met on, we can't even work for 6 months with the money on ground that we met.
Are you making reference to River State now?
Oh no, even Kaduna is there.
Kano as well.
You understand? So even Kano is because probably different parties and all that. But this one, the man worked to bring him in Kaduna State, and then all of a sudden you saw how the gulf between them is getting wider. So a lot of times you need to communicate some key things or some salient, laudable or challenges that you're going through, that you're facing as a government, so that the people begin to understand what those things are and how long, because you need also to give timeline of results. But you see, this issue of what's it called now, of dollar, Nigerians, we have two challenges in that area. There was a time just recently the thing started coming down. It didn't really affect much of the prices in the market, because our mentality is this is an opportunity for you to make all the gain in the world. Do you get? You just went to the market, you bought yours for 1,002, but because dollar has come down, right? You're now looking at it that, okay, I will still sell at the price of when it went to the peak. You understand? So I feel at that time I was thinking, will government put something in place, some price regulation in place? Because the only one thing that goes up in this country that never comes down is your age. Do you understand? But anything, once there's any fuel scarcity now, and there's fuel became available in another 2 weeks, the price, the taxes are taking it now that it's scarce. They won't come down from it. They still want to insist on that same price. So we have that problem in this country. But having said that, by and large, is that the government is also aware of what is going on with the issue of dollar. And I've seen a couple of policies in trying to see how the excesses can actually be reined in, saying, oh, no more transaction in dollars in Nigeria, no more this, no more that, all in an effort to see how they can actually reduce, because what they met on ground in CBN alone is something else. But you see, when you are suffering, you feel these are just excuses. You just want it fixed now, 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 now. And I believe
Okay.
it's given the government sleepless night as well.
Yes.
You know, and another area I quickly want to say something about is the area of security. I saw one man actually has stood out for me, which is the chief of defense staff. You know, I think it's called Christopher Gwabin or something from Kaduna State. I also checked his profile, and I saw how this man has actually been always been getting thumbs up in everywhere where he had worked, and now he comes in, even though there were a lot of opposition to his emergence, because he's coming from the Christian, the Christian North and all that. But yet we can actually feel in the space of less than 1 year that somebody is actually at the top of affairs somewhere. And I think, well, for those of them who are thriving, who are doing well, there's a need to also give them a thumbs up. When they start misbehaving, we will not hesitate to call them out as well.
Okay.
So, yeah.
In as much as I do have lots of questions regarding the issue of security and the man at the helm of affairs you speak about, and time will not allow us. But in 1 minute, I want you to share with us the pulse of the Northern Group regarding this current administration in 1 minute.
So the major concern of the Northern Group are just two things: security and food. Security and food. You need to go check the plight of the common man in northern Nigeria today. You know, it's getting worse because of the myriads of problems created by one of our brothers. You understand? So, because if we're going to be fair to ourselves, we shouldn't say, oh, because Asiwaju is a Yoruba man and that's why this. What happened when our own brother was there at the helm of affairs? We saw worse situation. In fact, he created some of the mess these people are trying to clean up. So security, all this government needs to do, because Buhari did not succeed to do it, to put an end to insecurity in northern Nigeria. If Asiwaju's administration succeed in doing that, people will bounce back. People can go to their farms without having fear of being kidnapped, and the agricultural industry in northern Nigeria will bounce back to what it used to be in the past. And a lot of people will have some kind of relief from all this fear, because a lot of people have been displaced from their abode and all that, or where their farmland used to be and all that. And I think the governor of Zamfara is also trying, even though he's a PDP governor, he's actually someone who has put on his thinking cap to change the situation. Maybe because he was a banker, he has some background. But I think the major problem is security and food. So that area needs to work on, even though in the area of security there have been progress, but the food issue is not just a one problem, but there are issues around it. It's making food become increasingly unavailable to the common man, and that needs to be addressed as well.
All right, thank you so much, Maila, for having this conversation with us. It has been a pleasure having you on the show. Samala is Director of Strategic Communication Coalition of Northern Group, and also the National Coordinator Grassroots Mobilization Initiative. I'm sure that you have a whole lot of things that you want him to talk about, and but whatever it is, you can go to our social media platform, and of course you can share your thoughts on some of the things that he has raised right here. Do you agree or don't you agree with him? Well, for us here,
our hands are tied.
Our hands are tied. But I'm definitely sure that you've been able to enjoy the conversation this beautiful morning. We'll go on a very short, because we'll come back, we'll wrap up the show. All right, then that's so much we can take on to show this beautiful morning. It has really been a great time being with you here from 7 to this time. Thank you for welcoming us into your space. And just at any time you get to watch this, don't forget that you can still share your thoughts and your opinion on our social media platform. Visit our website. You can stream from anywhere in the world, actually, just in case you're wondering if I am out of my particular location, can I still watch? You can always reach us from anywhere in the world. And go to our YouTube channel as well. And our website is
www.rvnradiotv.com.
All right, my name is Cynthia Agbo. To have yourself a beautiful day ahead.